Welcome back to season 2 of Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. I am your host, Marcia Blaine, a licensed professional counselor, a clinical hypnotherapist, an author, motivator, and life coach. Join us during this season as we begin to normalize freedom. Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Welcome back. I am Marcia Blaine, and I have the privilege of having Mr. Samuel Edwards with us here tonight. Mr. Edwards, I call him the historian because he will pull out some history and facts on your behind. He's going to make you listen and read. He is true to the art of making sure that he educates others, which is why he spent so many years educating our young people. As a social worker, a master level social worker, he also made sure that he spent all of his time in the Navy. Gotta honor the Uncle Sam and Samuel. And making sure that he gives back. He also has spent the last 25 years working with homeless veterans on a serious note and helping us as we go throughout the day dealing with veterans that are in crisis at the Veterans Crisis Line. But tonight, as I open the mic up for Sam to join in on the conversations, we're going to be talking about emotions, and we're going to break it down, what's happening with our Black men and emotions. So welcome aboard, Sam.
A pleasure to be here, Marcia. Pleasure as always to be here and drop knowledge as I always do, like I'm at work, on the IAMs and everywhere else. It's all about the knowledge and the power that the knowledge has.
Yes.
And for those that want to pick it up and carry it forward, hey, reach one, teach one.
That's it. That's it. And I always say that as we're the elders now. Shh. I know, right? We're the elders now, and it is our responsibility to bring knowledge to our youth, but even still educating those in our own group, in our own age group. Because the unfortunate side of the Gen X, we spent so much time being trained to be independent and numb to emotions that now they're having to understand the importance of being able to express themselves and have a voice. So let's dig into this conversation about emotions. When I hit you with the conversation, with that topic of emotions, what did you think?
I didn't know what to think. It's like emotions, it's emotions, males. And right now, today, as we look at society, we see so many varying degrees of emotions, particularly in African-American males. We've got the violence, we've got the submissive, we've got everything across the board, and there's no one specific thing that kind of delineates what emotions is, other than the definition and how we perceive what we read in the definitions.
So how would you define emotions?
Well, okay. All right, there's a couple ways to define it. Number one is when a man shows emotions contrary to his appearance or stature.
Woo, that's good. Hold on, don't go past that too quick. When a man shows emotions that are contrary to his image and his stature.
For the most part, yes. Like
Wow.
when he freaks out with his emotions and asks, why'd you do that? And he gives you that blank expression, I don't know, nothing, whatever. And you're kind of like lost in there trying to figure out what went on.
Yeah,
What did I miss?
yeah.
What did I hit?
Wow.
Then there's the other one, guy emotions. I'm going through my emotions right now. I'm feeling my emotions, and that kind of play on it. And the visible man emotions evoked by triumphs of masculinity or bravadity.
Oof.
Basically, woo, go for the team, yeah.
Yeah.
The sports, celebrations, excitements, that's emotions. And the classic one that we all struggle with is when there's no change in facial expressions or lack of crying. That one where you should be crying, need to be crying, need to show some emotion, but there's nothing but flat affect. And you sit there like, wait a minute, why isn't he crying? Particularly when you go to like funerals and you see, come on, man, I know this was your mother, I gotta be strong. Those types
that
of things.
numbing that emotion.
Right, which we can say society has kind of placed that historically, but we'll get into that a little further down. And it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, because the one thing that I recognize is men. Let's start with boys. Are slammed quiet, right, from emotions. Boys don't cry.
No, you're not supposed to cry.
Toughen up.
You got to be strong. You know, man up, be strong. Yeah.
And so, how do those emotions typically show up?
They show up in the opposite direction. Pretty much straight out. If you disrespect me, you step on my shoes, you call me out of my name, you try to attack my character. In this day and age, it's all about, hey, you just dissed me, so I'm gonna pull out a gun and shoot you. Or we're gonna throw down. Hey, we're gonna talk about it. Or we're gonna just throw down.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
we just
threw down. You got up, you got beat down, whatever. You got up. The next day, you was friends.
With no weapons, we fought.
Yeah, it was. You put up your dues.
Yeah.
You learned how to fight. Right now, we're behind the scenes on the computer. We fight from an anonymous state of mind and place so much emphasis on the fact, oh man, he just disrespected me. What do I need to do? I got to get my respect back.
Yeah.
And how do I do that? Violence. And there's no accepting of, hey, wait a minute, I can't be right and I can't be wrong.
And the thing is oftentimes I hear men saying, well, I don't have any emotions. And then I say, I beg to differ. The emotion that you're expressing is anger. It's an emotion. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, interesting that you put that up there. What are emotions in general? The definition of emotions is a natural, instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. Now, we know, and you probably know as well as I do, studying, there are 26 known emotions that have been defined. But the ones that are most prevalent, fear, anger, disgust, surprise, happiness, and sadness. Those are the key emotions that tend to be visible. And those are the ones, as African American males, we tend to go to the top of the list for. But when it comes to fear, it's one that we closet. We put that inside. We could be scared as anything, but we're going to be tough as we can be out there on the forefront. Yeah. But when we get behind a closed door, what do? We cry. We let our guard down. It's like that mask. The emotions are our mask. And we have to keep the mask on while we're outside that door. But when we get behind the closed door, we can take it off. Maybe, depending on the environment.
I was just getting ready to say, they have to have a safe environment to take the mask off.
Right.
It's not just, you my girl, I'm going to take this mask off. You my dude, I'm going to take this mask off. It has to be a safe environment.
One that they've determined to be safe and has been practiced as being safe. It can't be a temporary little situation because I ain't trying to get caught slipping with my emotions.
Right. Ooh. Yes. You got another word. Go ahead. I'm listening.
What is the main purpose of emotions?
The main purpose of emotions is the opportunity to express.
Right. Also, they help us understand and empathize with other people.
Very true.
They're key aspects of our lives and help us think and feel alive. Followed by communication with others, people, because it helps shape who you are as a person. And when African American males, what's the image? What do we have to always have out there on the forefront? We've got to be strong. We've got to be fighting. We've got to be there at the forefront. We cannot be weak or vulnerable. Period.
Yeah.
And that boils down to a cultural.
So you're trying to go on my list? That's what you're trying to do? Well, how have cultural expectations impacted African American males in their expressions of emotions?
Okay. Can we table that? Just let
we can.
We're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to get
there.
All
right.
Okay.
I'm going to follow your lead. How about that?
Okay. Now, when we were just talking about emotions, what are the responses to these emotions? Or emotions? One, we assimilate and accept. We fight fire with fire, We're heating of the rejection, judgment, fighting shame with shame. That's one. And the other one is we hide under the radar, trying to be invisible.
That's good.
We try to say, hey, wait a minute, that's not me. I ain't that one.
Mm-hmm.
No. You got me twisted.
Mm-hmm.
Or we live wholeheartedly, which is a very small population of African American males. I don't care what you think about me. I'm a human being. We're all humans. At the end of the day, you step on my toe, it's gonna hurt. You stick me with a needle, I'm gonna bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Basics.
Yeah.
Can't go any more basic than that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as expressing these emotions, there's a couple of great people that are out here right now that have books.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most prominent ones, and I know you've heard of him, Jason Wilson.
Yes.
Cry Like a Man. That was a powerful book.
It is a powerful book.
It allows you to actually understand why you are the way you are and why you subjected yourself to years of this cultural assimilation, might as well say, more or less. And there's others that go along the list. Let's see here. We have Hill Harper.
Yes, the letter to the young brothers.
Right.
Oh my goodness, that was such an impactful book. I actually gave that to my son before he left for boot camp. Thank you. Because I needed him to really understand. And that's a powerful book. I would encourage anyone to give that to their sons now.
Right. Followed by Jason Wilson's Cry for
Yes.
Cry Like a Man. Because that is one of the key things. It's the ability to actually cry, releasing the pain, the hurt, and everything else that goes with it. Because if we don't, we internalize it, and that creates more mental health issues and physical. Ulcers, headaches, stress, ages you out. The list goes on and on, for the most part.
Yeah. Diabetes, high blood pressure, impotency.
Yes.
Because all of that is impacted with the fact that you are internalizing these emotions that actually deserve to be released.
Right.
Yeah.
And the big one, PTSD.
Yes. You know what's so funny about PTSD, and I'm educating a lot of people on this, people stop at the thought of PTSD only associated with military action. PTSD, and this is for everyone listening, your childhood could have actually provoked PTSD. If you were raised in environments of domestic violence, even if you had to go without food, not sure where you're going to stay, of course, sexual abuse and things of that nature, all of those are PTSD. When I hear a person in their 30s saying that when they were 6, they literally had to go hustle so that they could make money, so that they could have school clothes, that's PTSD.
Right. I think the big thing is we put PTSD all together and we don't use the one key word in that, trauma. Trauma looks totally different to everybody.
Yes.
It's how you receive it as a whole. So trauma is trauma. You may think, oh, that wasn't traumatic to me. Yes, it was, because you're negating it. You're putting it underneath. You're like, oh, ain't nothing, I can keep on moving, yada, yada, yada. You keep getting that same instance over and over again. You're getting yourself desensitized to the trauma, and next thing you know it, you are being the trauma.
Yes. It's kind of like men who respond to their significant others because the significant other used a raised tone or kind of stood in an aggressive position. Well, they remembered that from childhood. That's trauma.
That's the response, the conditioned response.
Yes.
And a lot of what we're seeing out today is conditioned response to trauma. And you have no other choice. You go with what you know. And that's the result.
That's it.
Can't run from it, can't hide from it. But the truth of the matter is to actually understand it and realize what it is.
And understand that it's okay to explore those levels of trauma so that you can begin to heal. It may feel like you're stuck, but you don't have to be stuck. Right? As long as you're giving yourself that permission to say, let me address this. That doesn't make me weak. I had to tell that to a client on yesterday. Addressing your trauma doesn't make you weak. Crying doesn't make you weak. What can weaken you is holding that in,
Right.
and it tears your body down.
Some of the strongest moves we make in life are the weakest, but we don't equate that. That doesn't sound right. It's like a weak move becomes strong. How does that work? The weak move that you're making is releasing. It's owning. It's giving it voice outside of your own head.
Yeah.
And then it becomes real. It's like they always say, denial is not just a river in Africa.
Right. That's good.
So it's just really accepting of the fact that, hey, wait a minute. I have to realize this is something important. And how is it impacting my life?
Yeah.
Particularly when we want to look at relationships. If you're dating the same type of man over and over and over again, or the same woman type over and over again, it's not the woman or the man. It's you. And
From the conditioning.
right. Right. And that in and of itself is, hey, wait a minute, I need to go sit down on a couch somewhere and I need to verbalize. And that's another thing that we're starting to see right now. It's becoming more and more prevalent that we as African Americans are, hey, let's go sit down and talk about it.
As a therapist, I love it. I love being able to help our people really give themselves a voice again. Because most often your voices are robbed very early in your life. And that robbing could look like, stop crying, be quiet, be seen and not heard.
Better stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about.
Man, if that wasn't abuse, mentally and physically, But when you understand the importance of giving that voice back.
Right. Reclaiming your voice.
Reclaiming your voice. And what I often tell clients is this, and I'm sure you've shared this with them as well. It's not you actually that's having the conversation. It's that little person inside of you that was traumatized, left behind, kicked to the curb, and voiceless. And so when it shows up as anger, when it shows up as fear, frustration, irritability, all that, that's not really you. That's that little kid inside of you.
That you're allowing to find, hey, wait a minute. Hello, can I be heard? Can I be, you're afraid to raise your
tantrum. Yeah.
Ooh, over here. Ooh, yeah. That's exactly what it is.
And so when we think about it from that perspective and that cultural impact, that silencing of voice, how has that limited men from feeling safe of even expressing?
Well, let's make it a little broader.
Okay.
How has society impacted African American males' emotional views of themselves?
But how has that?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. We're going to pull off put on the history hat.
Okay.
And we're going to go back. And this is pretty detailed.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. This is the part I've been waiting for.
Right. The answer to this question lies in history, American history. Are we familiar with the term miscegenation?
Yes.
By definition, miscegenation is the interbreeding of people who are considered members of a different race, framed as preserving so-called racial purity, which gained prominence in and during the colonial period. Race relations, racialization, racism, racial equality, racial politics, all stem from miscegenation. Now, when we look at us as a people, there's debate. Did we first arrive in this country 1565 with the Spanish in Florida, or 1661 on good old with the Dutch in Virginia? Now, we're looking at 1619,
right?
1661, miscegenation laws started in the colonies. It was 42 years before they started creating these laws of the mixing of the races. And in 1999, a woman by the name of Martha Hodes, she wrote a book. It's called Black Men Illicit Sex in the 19th Century South.
I'm gonna need to get that.
Now, this is where it gets rather interesting. Now, this is the past and the present. All that I'm about to tell you is a realistic reality in theory.
Okay.
I'm going to explain to you why the black man wants the white woman, why the white woman wants the black man, why the black woman wants the white man, why the white man wants the black woman. And then the black man and the black woman and the black woman and the black man.
I'm ready. Let's break it down for the people.
All right. The black man, white woman. Back in the days of slavery, black man was taken from Africa where he was the king. He did everything. He controlled everything, hey, family, structure, the whole 9 yards. He is taken and brought here to the Americas where everything is stripped away from him. And who's in charge? The white man. Now, the black man's like, hey, wait a minute, I need my power back. How am I going to take my power back? You got me locked down over here in the slave quarters, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, wait a minute. You've got that belle, that white woman that's sitting up on a pedestal that's looking at me. So back then, how am I going to get back at master? I'm going to, quote unquote, take his woman, mess with his woman. That's then. Let's lean forward to now. Right now, black man, well, sitting on the corner slinging, gang banging, doing this, that, and the other, trying to be up as like the white man. So how does he equalize himself? He can't do it economically because he can't compete. So what does he do? Why not go get me a white woman? That makes me equal, doesn't it? Theoretically.
Yeah.
So when you look around and you see that mixture, it makes you go, wait a minute. All right. Now, let's go down to the white woman and the black man. Back then, white woman was, she's a Southern belle. She's on this little pedestal, master's little pride and joy, et cetera, et cetera. He cared less about her, but more about his slaves. So he was all into his, quote unquote, slaves, going down to slave quarters after dark, messing with the women, et cetera, which we'll get into a little further. Now, the white woman's like, well, let's go down to the slave block. Black man is stripped butt naked and everything, and she look, that looking, ain't what my husband's giving me. So that was that mindset back then. Now let's move it forward. Right now, same principle. White man sitting out here, he's too busy making money to provide for the house, for the family and everything else. He's disregarding his white wife. And well, he got all these black men like, go out and give me that bull, that buck, and boom. What is she doing? What is she chasing? Or let's even break it down even further. That young white girl that's in the household, mom and daddy own her this, that, and the other. She can't express herself. What does she do? She goes and gets her a young black man, Sidney Poitier, who's coming to dinner.
Yep.
Now, black woman, white man. Back then, hey, the black woman, she had that strong man. Over here, as a slave, he can't do nothing because master's giving him everything. And, wait a minute, you're not providing. You've just been matched up. Master said this, that, and the other. Like, okay, we can run with that. Not a problem. I got a black man here who used to do this, but he ain't doing it now. So what am I going to do? Let's pony up the master. Get to going. Now, bring it forward to now. Black woman right now. Ain't no good black man. They're too busy hustling, trying to do this, that, and the other, disregarding, all the negative stuff. Hey, why don't you go right up and down the pole, get on the corner, do whatever. She's not given the recognition of who she is. But hey, that white man over there like, he's got the money. He says, hey, can I get a little bit of that chocolate? You know what I'm saying? And bada bing, bada boom. Now the white man, black woman. White man back then, he owned everything. He can do whatever he wants. Ain't nobody going to challenge him or say anything about him because you my property. I can do whatever I want to. And of course, the black woman is like, hey, you ain't got nothing to, hey, spring forward to now. White man's out here, hey, I'm on that bump and grind. My wife, she ain't doing what I need. Usually it boils down to that sexuality. And it's like you see all these videos of the women, the sisters running around, badonka dunks, this, that, and the other, and everything else. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, wait a minute. I ain't got that at home, but I see it every day walking down the street at work and this, that, and the other. So why don't I, slide on over and, toss some dollars and, my economic status is going to get me something that that black man is not providing for her, that stability. Now, all of that put together creates a wonderful racial divide. Now, let's look at the black man, black woman. Back then, the black man, hey, that was my queen, that was everything. I provided for her, I did everything for her. Look today. There is some evidence of that being seen in many different levels, but for the most part, holistically, when you look at social media and everything else, that's not the case.
Right.
It's like you see the videos of rappers throwing money, women jumping up and down the poles, showing everything, doing this, that, and the other, which is totally contrary to everything. But the black man says he wants that black woman, but yet at the same time, he shows no true respect for her.
Right.
He's looking from the neck down, not the neck up. Now let's talk about the black woman and the black man. Now the black woman, she's strong, she's independent right now. She's like, hey, I don't need you. I don't want you. But yet you're trying to talk to me and trying to get with me, you know. And, well, hey, what do I need to do to keep you? Well, let me play into that stereotype. Let me dance and prance and do all this other stuff, the physical versus the mental. And then we can take those two together and we can look at how they crisscross and fight amongst themselves. A black man that is quote unquote strong, that's what they want. Yeah, strong, strength, you're going to defend me. But yet, I'm out here hustling, doing this, that, and the other. My life expectancy is nil. But you got this weak, nerdy that appreciates you, puts you up on the pedestal, does everything for you. But yeah, you don't want him, he's weak. He can't protect me. You don't know that until put in that situation.
Right.
But you're automatically looking at the physical saying, yeah, he's strong. It's like, come on. I've been in the military. I've seen some of the
thickest, biggest people fall.
And if you really want to know the truth of the matter, when you look at, talk about all these strong guys and everything else, when you're looking at special forces individuals, the real crazy ones, they go out and do the real stuff, the average height is about 5'2", and they may be 120 pounds dripping wet, if that.
Right.
They're not 6'5", 230, solid, this, that, no. They're the total opposite. So our image of what is strength has been totally
that's good.
thrown off. It's what we're physically looking at it and expecting, when in fact, it ain't what the reality is. Because in any given circumstance, anybody can react in a way that's totally opposite of who they are. But you're looking at this and say, hey, he's big and strong, he's going to protect me. You might be the first one running.
Or using you as a body shield.
Bingo. But that's neither here nor there. Now, all of this also equates to another thing. Emotional, historical trauma. And this is how we can look at, this is just a theory, but there's a lot of reality based in this theory. You can't refute it. You look at it like, well, maybe, no. And as you go through your life and you start to see these things, it becomes very real and very heart-wrenching. But yet we're still trying to change that narrative.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow.
History lesson 101. Now, another way to look at it is slavery has been carried down through society, through history.
And DNA.
And DNA. And hence, that is the impact from a historical point of view.
Yeah.
And you can take that and you can go down any road that you want, and it's still going to come back to the same thing, miscegenation.
And that was such a powerful portion of this segment, because a lot of people really don't understand the root of where all of this started from, right? And so within us, I don't know if you read the book Grandma's Hand, but it talks about how we have internalized this trauma that was been passed down through our DNA from slavery and the abuse and all of those kind of things. And so when it shows up, one of the things that you talked about, that black man, that black woman relationship, is black women were forced into roles of leadership and protection when that shouldn't have been her role.
It's by default.
By default. forced into it. Even on the plantations, she had the master's ear to prevent her children from being taken away, her husband from being sold, and things of that nature.
Right.
So it was a condition that was created, and we still carry that now. And that's part of where some of the changes have to begin to occur.
Yes, slowly but surely. But here's a big picture to look at. History is something that's cyclical. It repeats over and over again in 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 100-year increments.
We ain't going back to slavery. I ain't going back. I'm just saying.
No, I ain't no, me neither.
Let me just don't put that out there.
Yeah, I understand. Well, the sad part about history is we forget.
Yes.
And we don't want to go back. That's old, that's boring, that's stupid, that's
Why
crazy.
are we still talking about that?
Yeah. Well, we're talking about that because guess what? It's going to come back around.
And we see it though.
Yeah.
Even now when we're looking at all the racially motivated stuff that's going on and the trauma and just so many different things that's occurring, we see it now where we have both black men and women who are downing black men and women so that they can look like that they have assimilated with the faux majority.
Well, I can give you one name and it'll just resonate. Clarence Thomas.
Tim Scott.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
There are lots of people in prominent positions that we can put that label on. And we can say that society did it, history did it, conditioned response, whatever it is, the situation is they are there.
Right.
But yet at the same time, we refuse to recognize, but yet we recognize.
Why do you think we refuse to recognize?
Oh, that's just him up there doing that thing. He just did that stuff to get there.
And see, and that, if people have that mindset, they are walking so blind into the position to where they could be reincarcerated mentally, right?
Yeah.
Because the truth is that particular mindset is as damaging as a white woman saying a man hit on her and he didn't and lost his life.
I cannot refute that. And that's the cycle, and that's what we're dealing with today. And the big issue is trying to break that cycle. And we're putting kinks in it.
Right.
We're just waiting for that one kink to break. And who knows how long that's going to take.
How do we get men, as we're talking about emotions, and don't worry, women, I'm going to give you all an opportunity with she-motions. I am an equal opportunist where everybody gets a voice with me. But when we think about all that we've talked about, how do we help men to really honor themselves by using and understanding their emotions, pulling away from the conditioning, and even giving themselves permission to express themselves with other men?
Okay. That's...
Fully loaded.
Yeah, to say the least, that's fully loaded. Okay. Overall, I guess what we're looking at is how to gain emotional strength individually and as a group.
Yes.
Okay. A couple ways we can do that. Number one, seek out support.
How do I do that? How do I, as a man, seek support when we all in the gruff?
Well, you know, like I know, your support is probably right under your nose and you don't even realize it because you're too busy living in whatever it is you're in.
Yeah.
You know, we got family, we've got friends, there are professionals, AKA us, essential in helping, assisting them with coping with your emotions. The key thing is to recognize those emotions and the damage that those emotions have caused and the people that you are, quote unquote, damaging. Particularly your kids, when they see it, it's repeated. You know, you can see it in the little videos of you got a 5-year-old with Gucci, this, that, and the other, trying to be all that. Excuse me? Wait a minute, hold up.
Spell your name. Let's start with that.
Right.
Can you spell your name?
Yes. And also with the youth being violent in school to teachers. Oh, you disrespect them. Like, excuse me?
Listen, can we talk about that for a minute? And I know that that's not really emotions, but it could be, right? Some of the emotional expressions that I'm finding among the youth, male and female, that are aggressive in the schools and things of that nature, it's because a lot of their voices were silenced very early.
Right.
They don't know actually how to express themselves in their emotions because they don't know what they're feeling.
Right. And then you got the youth themselves, their hormones raging, going back and forth, and trying to be big and bad and not understanding the natural physiological changes in their bodies that are added to the anger and to the frustration. So they're going to get, I ain't going to be punk, big and bad, this, that, and the other. I'll tell you right now, I spent enough years in the classroom. You couldn't pay me enough to go back.
Listen, I have a couple of clients that are educators, principals, assistant principals, teachers, and things of that nature. And I tip my hat to them. I believe that children function well when they are in environments of freedom to think, expression, and discipline and order. Understanding consequences of their decision making.
Right.
When you remove those things, you get what you get.
Anarchy. You also, there's a bigger picture that deals with these things that you're seeing in the classrooms. You're looking at the pressure that's put on by administration to the teachers to perform to a certain standard. Then you're looking at the teachers holding their certifications and the standards within those to actually do what they're doing. So there's a bigger picture. Then you got the school board that's leaning down on everything. So basically, standing in the classroom, you're in the trenches trying to work magic.
And the only people that's got control and power is dang on kids.
Right.
Because the parents are off the chain. We're banning books all over the place. We got people screaming in board meetings, all that kind of stuff.
Or the favorite is, okay, y'all take care of that. Y'all at school, y'all do that. I'm like, okay, excuse me. This is not 8 hours of babysitting.
Well, that's the concept.
Yeah, no.
That's the concept. That's the thought. It's my day off. Go to school. When COVID first started, I put a message on Facebook, and I said, y'all pray for these children, because they really don't know and or like their parents or siblings. They've never had to spend this much time with them. They don't know each other.
Right.
They don't like each other. The parents don't like the kids don't like the parents, and they all gonna be stuck in this household. Y'all need to actually start identifying some order. Give the children room to be expressive with an understanding of respect. A lot of people found, that's the reason why I personally think all those people was just really losing their mind. We got to get the kids back in school. Now, y'all wanted a babysitter. You don't want to pay the teachers enough.
Right.
Now these children can't express themselves. They're one place of partial freedom, of identity, was school, and now that's gone.
Now, we add on to that the level of education. If you were behind, you were struggling, you're trying to give them this video learning. If I can't pay attention for 5 minutes in the class, what makes me go and look at a screen and hold my attention?
And was told that they had to pass them. They couldn't fail them.
Right.
But that's a whole nother part of that emotional makeup as well.
Right.
Because at least in the school, they could get some one-on-one if needed and that attention. But if they already coming from an attentionless home, a highly emotionally driven home, mom's stressed out, dad is wherever he is, he may be stressed out, bills the whole 9 yards, because a lot of people lost jobs, didn't have money coming in. Now here comes this kid that has a need of an emotional pull. How do we help the generations?
Well, as I said earlier, seek support. Number 2, develop a positive mindset. That's easier said than done. Reframing your negative thoughts.
Talk about that for a second for me.
Reframing.
Yes, explain it to them.
Reframing is taking something from one perspective and putting it into another. Basically looking at the other side of the coin. Because we're always looking at the one side, but yet we fail to flip the coin over and see the other side. See a lot of that in crisis response, because you can only see, oh my God, my bills, this, that, and the other. I can't make my bread. No, it's like, wait a minute. Currently, right now, you're freaking out because you're letting everything all at once hit you. There are things that you can control, things you can't control. Right now, you have a roof over your head. Let's work with the present and move forward. But everybody goes in, oh man, I need to do this. Then you run from here, you go over here. No. Stop, stand still, breathe.
Yeah.
And be realistic and honest with yourself. There's some things that you can't do. And reframing helps you look at it from the other side. Because the tension and everything else that you have is at the forefront. You're like, I gotta, but you can't figure out what's going on back here because you're too busy up here, all in it. Just, if I don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And you create that snowball effect. And when somebody tells you something that's total opposite, that makes plausible sense and direction, what the hell are you talking about? That don't make any sense. What? They can't hear it.
Right. That's deep. Reframing. All right. What's next on the list?
One of the most important things that you and I both have heard over and over again in graduate school and everything. Engage in self-care.
Well, talk a little bit about that.
Self-care is actually taking time out for you.
And it doesn't have to be
extravagant.
It doesn't. People think that self-care is, oh, I got to go get a massage. I got to go to the nail salon. Well, what if you don't have the money? You could create an oasis in your home.
I like to call it that Calgon.
That was our thing, Calgon.
That close the bathroom door, bubble bath, hot water, candles, glass of wine, music, whatever it is. Boom. That's your moment. Half hour, 45. You would be amazed at how much better you feel with 30 minutes of self-care.
You know what I tell people to do? After you get off work, whether you're working from home or working outside the home or whatever, let your family know, significant other, kids, whatever, you need 30 minutes after you've arrived at home
to decompress.
To just decompress. Everybody wants to run it, and it's about me, and I get that. But if everybody honors each other with that 30 minutes, just 30 minutes, to just say nothing, home environments would change.
Right. It's like when we were in the office. There's a 30, 45-minute ride home. After dealing with all the stress of the calls and everything else, get in the car. I've got time to decompress by the time I get to the house. I've literally listened to music and done everything else and gotten the day off my back. And I can actually engage.
And one of the things that I would share with people, because I know we're such a phone society. You gotta give yourself permission to put the phones down, to stop scrolling, because one of the things you have to recognize is when you're scrolling through all of this social media stuff, it's actually evoking emotions and triggering certain things. When you're seeing people's plight in their stories on TikTok and things like that, secondary or vicarious trauma. And actually, it's not even secondary trauma. It's your right now trauma. Right? Because now I'm hearing you and I went back into my own stuff. So yeah, that is secondary trauma, but tomato. But the truth is you have to be mindful what you're allowing to enter into your eyes, your ears, and come out of your mouth. Those are the things.
Those are the key things that as an individual, you've got to be able to separate.
Yeah.
Everything that you see on TV is what it's conditioned to a certain level to evoke certain responses. And you have to look at a story and think about the flip side of the coin. What made them put this story on? What's the significance of this story? What are they targeting? What are they trying to hide? What is the bias? All of that stuff, particularly when you start to look at certain stations, why they do certain things. Like, prime example, TMZ. Have you ever heard anything really truly positive come off of TMZ in their social media?
I'm just going to say this. I am so far removed from television and reality TV shows and all that kind of stuff. If you have my TV on, it's going to be on Hallmark, something that doesn't make me think or something
mindless
of that nature.
I don't like white noise.
I can't, because I serve so many people in different capacities, I recognize a lot of people's emotional responses from those. I also recognize that we've done, and I say we, Generation X, has done a really terrible job on helping the younger generation express themselves because we didn't know how to express themselves. And so as they're going through, these people, these young people, and some older people, literally are looking at reality TV shows saying, this is what marriage is supposed to be like. This is what relationships are supposed to be like. And it's not.
It's not even anywhere close.
Nowhere close.
It is nowhere near the realm of reality.
At all.
But they make it the reality.
It's very scripted, to say the least. One of the things that, and as we get ready to wrap up, I really would like for you to share some encouraging words to just specifically men and the expression of emotions. Give it to them.
Okay. Basically, number one, I understand the importance of emotional expression and the challenges that the younger generation of African American males face in exposing their emotions. Here are a few things. Number one, recognize that emotions are natural and necessary part of being human. Plain and simple. It's not a weakness to express emotions. It's actually a sign of strength to acknowledge and express how you feel. Number two, find a safe and supportive environment to express your emotions. Number three, practice self-care to manage your stress and improve your emotional well-being. 4, learn to identify and name your emotions. That is so key. Number 5, challenge stereotypes and societal expectations that may discourage emotional expression. There is no one right way to express emotions, and it is important to find what works best for you. Overall, first and foremost, you are a human being, and that means we all have feelings and emotions that need to be expressed, acknowledged, and understood.
I don't even have anything else. Because our truth is, that's what you need, right?
Right.
So as we close out, thank you, Sam, for not only taking us through a historical trek, but really giving us a lot more energy and things to think about as we ponder emotions and that ability to express yourself, understanding vulnerability, finding that safe space to be vulnerable and honoring yourself in this space. Thank you so much for being here. If somebody happened to want to reach out to you, how could they get in contact with you?
The best way to get a hold of me is interesting email, knwledge1906@yahoo.com. Knowledge without the O, 1906@yahoo.com.
We will make sure that the links are available or the information is available for you to reach out to Sam. I want to encourage you to listen to this broadcast multiple times with pen and paper. There's a lot of knowledge being put out here to you all. Don't forget, every Sunday, 8 a.m., we'll release the podcast. Go out there, follow us on Authentically Peculiar with Marcia on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, we're out there everywhere. And pick up the book, Making Progress in the Process to Fulfill Your Purpose. I promise you, it's going to help change your life. We'll see you at the next Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Take good care.
Authentically peculiar. Authentically peculiar. Authentically peculiar.
Authentically Peculiar with Marcia.